everyone. Thanks again for tuning into Sin's Workshop. We're having a wonderful day. Alright, today we're going to be talking about City of Villains by Estelle Laurie, published by Disney Hyperion. So the novel follows Mary Elizabeth Hart. She goes to high school in what we call the Scar. Her best friends are Ursula. Her boyfriend is James Crook, as everyone calls him. His sidekick is Smee, and they are looking for their friend. Well, she's looking for her friend Mally F. Saint. Yeah, we know where this is going. So this is almost like a young adult contemporary fantasy story. I say contemporary because it does follow normal kids. You know, magic is gone. Magic is gone. And you have all of the characters, you know, Mary Elizabeth Hart, Queen of Hearts. We kind of got that. Ursula. You've got the three fairies, Flora, Fauna, and I can't remember the blue one's name. But you've got those classic fairy tale characters, and they're all going to high school together, and they don't have magic. Magic is gone. Magic vanished. When this big tower, let's call it, it would be similar to the Empire State Building almost, the way they describe it. It vanished. Just vanished in a flash of light, leaving a crater that filled with water, but the water is poisonous. Lots of elements to the storytelling, and I do like the contemporary setting. You know, Mary, she is an intern at a police department, and not everyone is a fantasy character. You have, or a fairy tale character. You do have people, the legacies. Bella's also her partner, and there's also Gaston, so I think that's really cool. But you do have what you call legacies, and you have people from the Narrows. So everyone who's a legacy is descendant from a fairy tale character. And even though there is no magic, they have marks on them, you know, little black hearts. And they are on them, you know, they mark them as what they call legacy. So there's this really big rift between legacy and Narrows. And everyone who's a legacy, they stick together. And the Scar, it's not really a great place anymore. It used to be great when it was magical, and there's still some remnants of magic. You've got the garden. I would say it's kind of like the Boston Commons. You've got the garden that is just always beautiful 100% time, 100% of the time. And then you've got the city itself. It always has the perfect weather every single day of the year. So there are remnants or imprints of the magic being there, but it's gone. And Mary and her friends, you know, everyone she knows who's a legacy is, I feel like they're all still trying to find a place in the world. And that's why I liked this story. It's a quick read, very fast paced. It is very character driven. So she's an intern, you know, for the police department. And she's paired up with Bella, who is so happy to get away from her partner, Gaston, who's always hitting on her to the point of harassment. It is harassment. And I think their dynamic is really interesting because Bella is only a few years older than her. She's 22. She's in the force. She's a rookie cop. And the chief decides to put these two, an intern and a rookie cop, or rookie detective rather, on a case, on a missing person case of Mally F. Saint, because she's gone missing. No one knows where she is. She doesn't have her pet Helion anymore, her bird, her raven. He's not there anymore. Well, he's there. The thing is, he's always attached to her shoulder. So the captain decides to put these two on a missing persons case. That seems really big, and it seems a little suspicious, but we're going to go with it because even though her behavior is suspicious, she does have some foundation for it. Like, you I'm taking you off desk duty. You know the victim. So you have a special knack for finding things. And she does. Mary Hart, she's very good at finding things. I think that that's the imprint of her magic, that she can find things. And it really does make her incredible. Now, you would think Mary's a villain. She's not. I think it's great that her boyfriend is James Hook, and I love that her best friend is Ursula. And I like how everyone's scared of Maleficent, but they are not the true villains in the story. The true villains are the people who don't have magic, the people who are not connected to fairy tales at all, the people from the Narrows, normal people. And the scar is also in our world. You just have to think of, Los Angeles. They do reference Los Angeles. They do reference Europe. So it's like our world is coexisting with this fairy tale world. And I think that that's really interesting. I loved that progression of the story. I liked the element. I liked the fantasy element. I do love it when you have this little bit of realism to ground a story, to ground a story generally, and to ground the reader as well, because you're giving the reader something to attach themselves, something familiar to attach to the story. And when you have really good, strong characterization, like with Mary and Hook, I love their dynamic, and you can see how they find magic on the hunt to look for Maleficent. They find magic, but like Rumpelstiltskin always says, magic comes with a price, beauty. He will always be my favorite character of Once Upon a Time. Him and Regina, they own that show. Without the two of them, I don't think that show would have been really good. So I guess you could say it's a little bit like Storybrooke, the Scar. I would, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about it right now, it is a lot like Storybrooke. It does take place in the real world. It is its own little city. It's not cut off from the rest of the world, but it has had magic in it, and I thought that was really cool. But it's the people without the magic who are starting to exploit it. They are running experiments on legacies. And oh God, let me tell you, when Maleficent got her horns and Ursula got her tentacles, and Hart grabbed an axe. She grabbed an axe to save someone. It wasn't for malicious purposes. And then Hook loses his hand. I was like, I was fangirling. I really was. It was great. I loved those moments in the story where the author just decided, you know what? Let's bring these fairy tales to life. It's super unique. And I really loved it. I'm in love. I'm in love. I had an arc of this copy, and I'm going to buy it. I'm going to go out there to make the effort to buy it just so I can have it on my shelf, because I really enjoyed it that much. It really was engaging from beginning to end. And I thought the whole thing, it moved at such a great pace. You can see the direction of the story. You can see how the characters are evolving into the villains we know them as now, but they're not really the real villains. They've lost their humanity playing with magic, but they were, it wasn't of their own free will. Let's say that. So I do think it's such an engaging story. I'm really excited to see where the author's going to go from here, because we all know Hart is the Queen of Hearts, and she's not a villain now, but is she going to become a villain, or is she going to be more like Alice? So there's a lot we don't really know. There's so much left in the open, and I think it's really great that our hero is the Queen of Hearts teamed up with Belle. I think that was such an interesting twist in the story. You think, oh, Hart, she's going to be a villain. She's definitely going to be a villain. She's an intern for the police? No, she's not going to be a villain. But there is that potential for her to be a villain, and I think that that's really interesting. So I really want to know where the story is going to go. I like how Hook Maleficent and Ursula are definitely on that villainous path, but they have lost their humanity, but they care about their community still. That is why they're giving away their humanity. You know, it's lots of gray area there, but I do think it's really interesting, and I did love it. I was in love with it from beginning to end. I think I read it in like 2 days. I couldn't put it down. It's a really quick read, like I said already. Very fast paced, good characterization, lots of mystery, lots of intrigue. There is a lot in the story to keep the reader hooked, especially with the strong characterization, because you're really reading it for the characters. You're really reading it because these are characters from Disney fairy tales we all know, but to see them interpreted in a completely different way is interesting, and I haven't seen that done before. I really haven't. So I do like that, and I appreciate that Estelle Laurie, you know, she takes inspiration. She takes a lot of inspiration from the world around her. I think we can see that. We saw it in her previous work, and you're seeing it a lot more now, how she takes inspiration, but how she interprets it in a very unique manner. It's all her, man. It is all her. It is unique. It is well written. I have to give this book 5 stars. I think initially I gave it 4 because I'm like, well, I reserve my 5s for books that blow me away. And now that I've sat with it, I've written my review, I've thought about it, and now I'm like recording this. I'm like, you know what? It needs a 5. It deserves a 5. 5. It's gonna get a 5. It's a good book. I highly recommend it. It's a young adult, fantasy with a contemporary, realistic twist to it, and I do like that. It does give it an edge as far as fairy tale retellings go. It definitely has an edge. It definitely has strong writing and strong characterization. So it definitely deserves a 5. And again, I couldn't put it down. I didn't want to put it down. I was reading it like crazy. I did not want to put it down. I loved it. It was excellent. I'm officially a fan of her writing. Officially a fan. So once again, City of Villains, book 1 of a new series by Estelle Laurie. It gets 5 stars. Yay! I do recommend purchasing the book, so if you're going to purchase the book, I will include a link in the description below where you can purchase it. If money's tight, please remember to support your local books, your local library, but also support your local bookstores, now that I'm thinking about it. If you can afford it, support your local bookstores and purchase it from Barnes & Noble or your online bookstore retailer. Please avoid at all costs purchasing it off of Amazon. The bookstores need our support more than Amazon does. Just like the libraries need our support. Libraries are a great resource for a lot of people who can't afford to buy books. And they definitely deserve all our support so that we can continue to give the community access to books and laptops and resources that they need. So support the library if you can. And on that note, I hope you will continue to support me by liking this video, subscribing to my channel, and sharing it with all your book loving friends. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.